All right, now that you are an expert on figuring out how many protons, neutrons, and electrons are in an atom, it's time to be able to put that together to actually create a drawing of what that atom would look like, which is what this awesome scientist, Mr. Bohr, came up with a long time ago, 1913. Says here, chemistry, boring students since 90. If you want me to get you one of these, you just let me know. I'm all over it. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to draw a Bohr model of an atom. You will be an expert at this. Okay, so the first thing that we need to know, the biggest part about this diagram is going to be the electrons. How do we know how many electrons are in an atom? Well, kind of indirectly, it's from the atomic number, right? Because the atomic number tells us the number of protons, really, but we also know that the number of protons is always equal to the number of electrons. So kind of the atomic number tells us the number of protons, and it tells us the number of electrons. We're going to use that atomic number a lot when doing these diagrams. We're also going to use the mass number, which you learned about before as well. So what are the rules for filling in these parts in an atom? Okay, we know that the electrons are found where? They're found in the electron cloud. Over here, this is my diagram of an atom. And in this picture, this gray area is the electron cloud. Well, what's this thing in the middle then? That must be the nucleus, right? When we put electrons into our electron cloud, they actually go into what we call energy levels, which look like rings going around the atom. And it kind of would remind you of planets going around the sun, where the nucleus is the sun and the planets are the little electrons orbiting around. So we'll refer to those rings as energy levels, or sometimes we just call them rings. Okay, they'll look like this, and the electrons will go right on that ring and orbit around the center, the nucleus. Okay, when we fill the electrons in, because remember all these atoms have different numbers of electrons, we're always going to fill from the inside of the atom to the outside, meaning this smallest ring closest to the nucleus, we're going to put electrons in there until it's full. And we're not going to go out to the next ring until this first one's full. When this first ring is full, then we'll start spilling electrons over into this next ring. We're going to keep putting electrons into this ring until this one's full. And then once this one's full, we'll start putting electrons into the next ring. All right, but you never can go out a ring until the one before it is full. Okay. So another set of rules, this first energy level, this first ring, it's the smallest ring because it's really close to the nucleus. Now since it's so small, this one can only hold 2 electrons. So once there is 2 electrons in here, it's full and we got to start using the second one. This second ring, it's a little bit bigger. So this one can hold 8 electrons. So we got 2 here, that's full. We'll start spilling over and fill in this. Once this one has 8, we'll spill over into the third. The third one can also hold 8. And that's as big of an atom as we'll mostly deal with. Some atoms do use a 4th and a 5th ring, but those ones get pretty complicated. We're going to steer clear. So a saying that I always use in my head to remind myself for how many electrons can fit is 2 will do, but 8 is great. So 2 can fit here, 8 or 8. There's your 2. If we fill that up, we'll spill over. And we start filling this one up. We got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in that ring. Now that one's full. We'll start spilling over into the third level. And this one can also fit 8. Now if we had more electrons in this, we'd have to add a 4th level, but we're not going to go that far. Okay, so if you're going to draw a Bohr diagram, you need to indicate how many protons, neutrons, and electrons are in the atom, and then you just need to put them in the right spot. So if we're going to do a Bohr diagram of lithium, the first thing we want to figure out is how many protons there are. So you look at your periodic table. The atomic number of lithium is 3, which means that we should have 3 protons. If you have 3 protons, that means you have 3 electrons, because those 2 are always equal, right? And then you're going to need your periodic table again. The mass number of lithium is 7. So remember, your protons plus your neutrons need to be 7, your mass number, which means we have 4 neutrons. All right. Now that we know how many protons, electrons, and neutrons are in our atom, we just got to put them onto our diagram. So protons are going to go where? They got to go in the nucleus, which is right here in the middle. So what we do, instead of having to draw each little particle in there, we're just going to say P3, meaning there's 3 protons in the nucleus. That should save you some time. Okay? Neutrons also go in the nucleus, so we're going to say N4. Again, you don't have to draw them out, just write N4. That'll save you some time. So now, so far in this diagram, we know we have 3 protons in the nucleus and 4 neutrons in the nucleus. Last thing that we need to add is the electrons. Now remember, we're going to fill from the inside out. So we start, here comes 1, 2 electrons. And electrons are usually signified with a lowercase e. All right, now that first ring can only hold 2 electrons. So we got to spill over into our second ring, and there it is. All right, so now we have 3 protons in the nucleus, 4 neutrons in the nucleus, and 3 electrons, which we filled from the inside ring out. And this is what the Bohr diagram of lithium would look like. Let's try another one. Oxygen. Again, you're going to want to figure out how many protons, neutrons, and electrons are in the atom before you start doing any drawing. So we find the atomic number of oxygen to be 8, which means 8 protons and 8 electrons. Now the mass number is 16, which then by calculating your protons plus your neutrons, we figure out that we also have 8 neutrons in oxygen. All right, now we know our numbers, we just got to fill them in over here on our picture. Start with your nucleus. So we have 8 protons, we said, and those go in the nucleus. And we said we have 8 neutrons. Those also go in the nucleus. Electrons are going in the rings. So first 2 of our electrons are going to fit in that first ring. Now that ring can only hold 2, so we start spilling over into the second ring. And our third electron will go there, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Total in the second ring, we have 6 electrons. So that ring's not completely full, but overall we have 8. 2 in the first ring, 6 in the second, and that creates our 8 electrons that we have. So this would be the Bohr diagram for oxygen. Okay? Try the last one on your own for chlorine. Pause the video, and when you're ready, play it again and see if you got it right. All right, so chlorine has an atomic number of 17. 17 protons, 17 electrons. The mass number for chlorine is 35, which means your protons plus your 18 neutrons need to be 35. So you then add these parts to your atom, protons and neutrons in the nucleus, and we start adding our electrons. 1, 2 in the first ring, now it's full, we spill over to the second ring. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total, but 8 of them are in the second ring. Remember, 8 is all this ring can hold, so we're going to need to spill over into the third ring. We have 10 so far on our drawing. We need 17 total, so 7 more need to go on the third ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, this ring's not full, but we only have 17 electrons, so we don't have any more to put on there. And if you count all the electrons now, there should be 17 electrons. We already said 17 protons in the middle and 18 neutrons in the middle. So this would be the Bohr diagram for chlorine. Okay? If you have any questions, make sure you ask. And then your next step would be to grab the Bohr Model practice sheet and just practice makes perfect. There's like, I don't know, like 15 of these for you to try. Make sure by the end it's just second nature and easy for you. If you're having trouble finding the neutrons, I will walk you through it.